As you are well aware, silver has been sitting right there at about the $40 mark, which seems to be weeks and weeks, but it's really only been about a week and a half. But it's crazy to be there just to begin with. And I wanted to bring you facts, not feelings, over what silver has done this year, why it is here, and what are we going to expect for the rest of the year. Once again, the internet is full of feelings about these topics. I'm going to bring you sources, and those sources hopefully are correct, but they're real, actual sources, and you can check them if you'd like. So let's go ahead and get to it. Silver surged nearly 30%, as you know, in the first half of 2025, breaking above the 36 ounce, making a 13-year high. And that is according to Investing News Network. Analysts are actually forecasting other upsides. The mid-range is supporting targets that average this year from $35 to $37, meaning the later part of the year might see a dip. And within months, we could see $40 to $50. And some people think, and this is Investing Haven we're talking about, $80+ per ounce by 2030 as a long-term projection, which just seems absolutely crazy. Remember, I'm not the one saying that. That's some articles put out there by people who apparently know more than I do. And according to Courier Mail and some other sources, which include Warren Buffett, some bullish voices anticipate the $100 an ounce structural imbalance basically is going to be as a persistent marker, I guess, for the future. So I don't know, man. $100 an ounce seems crazy to me, but apparently it was solid enough to be printed by some people out there. So we know the industrial demand drives the growth for so much of silver, the majority of it being industrial market based. So we've had record-breaking industrial use this year. Silver fabrication topped 700 million ounces in 2025, with solar, EVs, AI, and electronics obviously consuming more than half of those supplies. That's according to Endeavor Silver and about 12 more sources. The global supply deficit of 149 million ounces is projected, marking the fifth consecutive year of structural shortfalls. I did not know that we had 5 years straight of shortfalls, and that's very interesting to me. So that being said, that could be a very big factor moving forward. How about investor interest and speculation? Well, we know that according to a few of these articles, Wikipedia is one of them, yes, but Investopedia and a few others, that silver ETFs like SLV have risen about 30% year to date, which is showing stronger investor confidence, not just in the physical stuff, but in the stuff you can't touch that's out there at Wall Street, which is something I honestly did not think I would see. I thought that majority of investors in this stuff wanted to touch it, which was kind of the advantage of it. But no, we've seen a huge surge in the ETF market for metals. Technicians indicate strong support at the $35 to $36 an ounce level, with a possibility breakout from 38 to 40 and even a path towards 50 in early 2026, according to Discovery Alert. So what about the value versus gold? We always talk about the gold to silver ratio, the GSR. We know that it's floated from 90 to 100 to 1 as a ratio, which is far above the historical norm of about 60 to 70 to 1, suggesting that in today's market, either silver is undervalued or gold is overvalued. That according to Market Watch. I don't know which is true. I guess technically they could both be true. They both could be undervalued or they both could be overvalued, or one versus the other. But I guess how much is something that they can argue. But that would be interesting. If we can get back to a GSR, that gold to silver ratio sitting at, let's say, 65, how many people go and trade 65 ounces for an ounce of gold? Or how many people, I don't think would happen, but how many people go the reverse of that? So what about the other issues that are outside of the standard industrial supply, such as the macro and geopolitical issues? Well, according to Reuters, Investing News Network, Money Week, Sprott, places like that, pressure has been intensified by the US dollar weakness, as we all know, elevated by inflation, and obviously the stuff going on with all the wars, the Middle East tensions, and trade uncertainties. We've had different situations going on there, especially with going on with BRICS. Central bank policies and the dollar's direction can shift momentum very quickly, as we've seen, and that is according to NASDAQ and FX Empire. And as we possibly will see a new Fed chair and interest rates change, will that change the demand for stuff like this when the feeling of consumer comfort goes back to hopefully what we felt like in the 90s, which was a completely different time? And here are some risks according to CFI, Empower Yourself, and Reuters that you might want to look out for. That we might have some technical pullbacks that can bring silver back to the $34 to $35 range if we happen to see a resumption of a rally. Macro headwinds such as an unexpected global recession or robust dollar rally could also stall the current trend, and that's according to NASDAQ and FX Empire. So here's a summary table. Right here, we see a price surge, 30% year to date. We see forecasts of $40 to $50 by late 2025 by quite a few sources. Not sure if we'll hit that. It's just crazy to think about. We probably will, my guess, go above 40. Will we stay there? I don't know. Some people say long term, in the next 5 years, we'll be seeing $80, which is crazy to think about. The demand, as we know, we had 700, actually probably more than that, 700 million ounces in industrial usage of silver and rich structural deficits built in, all baked into the pie there. And we know that the investor positioning has changed. 31% ETF gains. That's crazy. So the technicals support a further upside. What about relative valuation? Well, the gold to silver ratio indicates, once again, indicates that this is either undervalued or gold is overvalued. And I don't think anybody is assuming gold is overvalued. So that being said, that might lead to an $80 day one day soon. So what about those risks? Once again, we have pullbacks in economic or dollar strengths really being the issues here. Obviously, when we have things like refiners deciding how much they're going to refine as stuff gets pulled out, that could play into it as well. But what about those macro catalysts, the big picture things that are happening around the world? Well, we have inflation, of course, geopolitics, as we talked about, and obviously the clean tech demand. If you saw my video over quantum dots in solar panels, you know that there is a very, I wouldn't say it's likely, there is a possibility, as there's already been millions in R&D put into it, for quantum dot technology to eventually be something that can take over the use of silver in solar panels, which I honestly did not think of. I never thought that would be possible, but with the change in how quantum dot is used and how they can use graphene and copper variants with, I think it's bismuth, I'm not sure, but some type of way they can eliminate even the silver paste and get the perfect amount of energy from those panels, as those Q dots can actually tighten into the particular frequencies needed for extraction. Very interesting stuff there. So why does this matter to you? Well, if you're an investor, underpriced demand and then supply obviously creates favorable conditions. And we know that this can be a diversification strategy, as silver's volatility, which it very well can be, can complement gold, which is a bit more, and any type of equities you might have. And obviously, we have some triggers on the table. If silver drops to $36 an ounce, do you have a plan? What are you going to do? Most of you are probably just going to hold it, which that's me too. If it sits at the 38 to 40 as it's been, obviously fair game there. But what if it goes to $50 an ounce? Are any of you going to be out there just trying to liquidate assets? I know 10 years ago, many people said, if it ever gets to $40 an ounce, that's my selling point. Well, here we are. Are they selling? My guess is no, because they know how slow this ride has been, but how strong it's been, that they want to see exactly how high it goes before they offload a bunch of silver. But hey, that's just me talking. Once again, I got no idea on that. I'm not going to tell you what's happening out there because I don't know. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you actually like the facts that I'm bringing to you that are done by research, rather than just me being a talking head and telling you what I think is going to happen. So that being said, I thought it was a change of direction, change of pace. Occasionally it's fun to do these types of things, and I had an hour to film. So hey, here we are. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.